Hello, my beautiful friends. My name is Carrie Cox, and welcome to my channel where we learn to use our personal power to build a connection between our mind, our body, and our spirit. In today's video, we're going to talk about the word balance. So balance has been coming up a lot since 2021 started. A lot of people are talking about this is the year to find balance in our daily lives, balance in our work, balance between our masculine and feminine, balance between our mind, body, spirit. Everything's been about balance, and I wanted to take that a step further and talk about how that plays into everything that's playing out right now that we are experiencing this year in 2021, and how we just went through this whole, here in the United States, we just went through this whole political battle, and it's really caused a lot of polarization where it's really forced a lot of people to choose a side and to be polarized on one end or the other. And it's almost like we've created this huge shift of division, and ultimately, I do believe everyone has the same goal. Everybody's goal is unity, love, and peace within our society, within humanity. Everybody wants to see the, good for the planet, and everybody wants us all to experience love and peace. And I think what makes it so different on the two sides is how you achieve that. And that's sometimes what's hard for people to see when they're not able to step back from their own reality and look at different positions or viewpoints from different perspectives without judging from their own personal emotions and fears. A lot of people are looking through the lens of their own fears. So when you are getting to a point where you will literally not be friends with somebody, or even get so angry that you would stop talking to a family member because they don't have the same viewpoint as you, you really got to stop and ask yourself why. Like, what would push you to the point of, because somebody doesn't have the same opinion of you, that you could not have conversations with them, that you could not find love in your heart for them, that even as a family member that you could never speak to them again because they don't see the same political view as you. I mean, this is just, it is so crazy to me, because I can't even imagine myself not speaking to someone because of what they believed in. But in my own in my private practice, I work with a lot of different people who have different beliefs, different religions, different viewpoints, different political sides. And I hear people of all sides speak their opinions and feelings. And I heard it all through this last year. There's a lot of people who hold a lot of anger and contempt inside, and it is coming out in their own fears. It's coming out in their physical body. Now they're experiencing aches and pains and symptoms, and ultimately what it does is lowers your immune system. So we need to look at, where is this coming from? Are we spending too much time and energy paying attention to the media and the narratives that are being played on social media, TV, radio, wherever it is? Because those narratives, they have a purpose, and their purpose is to stretch truth, to create entertainment, and then also to support the side of things that are trying to instill fear into people. And you cannot allow that to become mind controlling for you. We need to start waking up and thinking for ourselves. And in that, we're going to talk about some concepts like polarization, balance, and what we can do to see beyond that. Because what we really need to do is see beyond this illusion. And this polarization that's happening right now, it's pushing people to either be on the right or the left. And you're coming up with these very polarized viewpoints, like you're either right or wrong, and there's no other option. And that's where we need to find balance. We need to understand that first of all, there can never just be one viewpoint, one thought, one way. I think of like the number one. If everybody thought the same way and everything was the same, what would be the point of our existence here? Why would we even be here? We wouldn't learn, we wouldn't evolve, we wouldn't grow, because we wouldn't have decisions to make. We wouldn't have ways for us to mess up so that we can learn from our mistakes. If there was only one way of everything, there would be nothing to balance and we would be being controlled. When we get a choice, then we have the freedom to make that decision for ourselves and then either learn from the mistake that's made based on that choice, or we stay blinded to the reason why we are here, and we stay asleep and we stay sheep. We stay being controlled and we don't grow. We can only grow if we're vulnerable enough to see our own mistakes. And the last thing we should be doing right now is spreading hate. We need to come together in unity, and we need to accept one another and accept each other's and have respect for each other's viewpoints and allow everyone to speak their truth, because when we don't speak our truth, we are living in a false sense of reality. And we need to see that all sides at the end, everyone has the same goal. It's just we have different ways to get there. So in order to achieve balance, we have to remember the word compromise. And I had a client like I think a week ago, and we were talking about just some political stuff as I was working on him, and he brought up some really interesting things for me to think about. And that's what's amazing about connection with people. When we truly connect with people, and when we truly listen to people, and we truly can have debates with one another without getting angry, without getting ego involved, when we can just have conversations and not take things so personally. I don't know. That's a whole nother tangent. But, you know, when we can actually have conversations with different people, I have clients of all different ideas and viewpoints. And if I decided, oh, I'm not going to see any of them that have a different viewpoint than me, then I wouldn't even be in business. And life wouldn't even be very fun if we all thought the same way. So I love hearing other people's point of view, because sometimes I can step back from that and say, wait, let me look at this from a different angle, and let me try to see, let me take my emotion out of it, let me take my fears out of it, and let me try to observe this from a different position and see where it leads me, see what it teaches me. And I had this client last week, and we were talking about what they used to do in the old days compared to what they do today. And a story that he told me, he's a retired lawyer, and a story that he told me was that back in the day, people in political parties would come together, and they would come together over drinks. And they would this is where they would come together and find compromise with one another so that they could get stuff done. It seems like nothing gets done today in politics, but they're not allowed to do that anymore. They're not allowed to be socializing and finding compromise and talking things out with the other side. It's one side against the other. And nothing's ever going to get done that way. In order to find balance, we have to find compromise on everything, which means it's a way for both sides to win. If we were always going to have one side win, then it's just going to flip-flop back and forth between sides. And it gets a little ridiculous. It's like, oh, for this 4 years, these prices are going to be cheap. And for these 4 years, these prices are going to be expensive. And it's this flip back and forth. And there's no balance. There's no compromise. We're going to go by these rules for these 4 years. And then these 4 years, we're going to flip the rules to the other side. So do we accomplish anything that way? No. The only way we accomplish something is to find balance in it. And in order to find balance in it, you have to find compromise. And we have to do this with ourselves and our own inner journey, with our own viewpoints, with the way we're treating other people, with the way we're seeing the world. We have to find balance. And so to see that, we're going to have to find some compromise. And what it made me do is I started thinking about this morning about polarization. And I started thinking, well, if everything is polarized, okay, so in one of the laws of nature, one of the universal laws of the universe is that we have opposites, duality, that there's hot and cold, black and white, male and female. There's always these two sides, almost like everything's paired off in twos, but that's not really the full truth. See, the whole truth is most things, with a very few exceptions, actually happen in threes. Just like we have mind, body, spirit, and all matter is made of three components: protons, neutrons, and electrons. Most people know of the Trinity, three. So if what we're manifesting throughout our reality is actually happening in threes, then there can't just be two sides. There's always got to be a third position. So is everything going to be black and white, or is there going to be a lot of gray in the middle? Well, when you're talking about a world of 7 billion people, that's a lot of thoughts out there creating a one consciousness of energy and thoughts. There's going to be a whole lot of gray. So are any of us correct by choosing a side and becoming polarized to that side? Or do we need to find balance in that gray and operate from the place of gray, not black and white? So let's talk real quick about duality or polarity. There's black and white, up and down, hot and cold, male and female, sun and earth. Everything in the universe has an opposite. It is just the way it is. It is the laws of the universe. It's the laws of physics. Everything has an opposite. But everything also, well, almost everything, there is one exception to the rule, but everything also has a third component. Okay. So if we have black and white, we have gray. If we have hot and cold, we have warm. If we have up and down, we have middle. If we have male and female, we have child. And if we have sun and earth, we have moon. We have a third component to everything except for the spiral. The spiral is the golden mean logarithmic spiral, and it is the source of all other sequences. So because of this spiral, we know atoms have three parts: electrons, neutrons, protons. But there becomes a exception when you look at the first atom is hydrogen, and hydrogen only has one proton and one electron. There's no neutron. It only has two components. But besides that, every other exception out there has three components to it. So we need to start finding balance between those two polarities within that middle, even in our own life. So we need to stop seeing everything, even in our own life, as being polarized to two sides, and see that there are more options than just two. We need choices in life. And without these choices, we aren't going to be able to learn what works and what doesn't work. And the only way we're going to have the ability to keep these choices and options is to have respect for other people's choices. And start making choices of our own. Start thinking for ourselves. Start looking at everything that's going on and say, does this make sense? Start questioning and start looking for compromise. We have to remember that thoughts are things. And your thoughts are more powerful than I bet you give them credit for. When we watch things on TV or see a lot of violence in video games or hear things on the news, buy into things from corporations, it puts thoughts in our head. It puts ideas in our head. And sometimes we react based on these thoughts that are being put into our head when we're not stopping and thinking about, are these my thoughts, or am I being programmed by what I am putting my energy and focus into? And if I put my energy and focus into these things, is it controlling me? Is it programming me? Is it making me believe things that maybe my soul doesn't believe? Maybe these things don't really resonate with me. But how are you going to know that unless you stop and think about these things? If we find balance in our own way of thinking, if we find balance in our own life, if we start treating people better based on what they believe, and we start respecting other people's opinions, then we may be able to find that unity and love and peace that everybody is seeking. But it's going to start with us individually. We can't make changes on that macro level unless we make those changes first on the micro level. We need to make those changes within ourselves, find balance, unity, harmony, peace, and love for ourselves, within ourselves. And as each of us start doing that, it will start to spread, because our thoughts are so powerful. Instead of spreading thoughts and ideas of anger and violence and separation and pushing people on opposite sides, we can come together and be a force as one, pushing the right agenda instead of the wrong one. I send all of you love, light, and peace.